I have a whole list here of different types of content, as well as a bunch of notes that I've picked up just for like best practices, I guess you could say. So let's talk about creating short form video content that helps you to sell your books and grows your platforms. And I was going to call this video how to make TikTok videos, but I procrastinated so much that TikTok might not be around pretty soon. So this is going to apply to all short form video content, okay? Not just TikTok, but also Reels, YouTube Shorts, and whatever else might come. Because I think honestly, even if TikTok doesn't stick around, it's taught me some really valuable things. So first of all, let me just back up and say how I know what I know, because I have taken some courses actually, but there's not a lot of free stuff on the internet. So then when I was experimenting and trying to figure it out, I was like, oh my gosh. So let's see, all the way back in 2021, I took, what was it called? InkersCon, I believe. And they just had like one session out of a bunch of other sessions that were about other topics. They had one session on TikTok and 6 authors came together and they shared just some things that they picked up. I took so many notes and I was about to have a baby. So I basically had this 1 month where I was done working, done with big commitments, but I had all this time. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna grow. I'm gonna start a TikTok. I'm gonna grow on TikTok. And I grew by about 1,000 followers in 1 month. I was having so much fun. And then I had a baby and it just dropped off. Never came back. I totally forgot TikTok existed, if we're gonna be honest. So I literally came back, what was it, 6-9 months later. I was like, oh, there's comments that I didn't see that I should have answered. Whoops. And then from there, I did everything you're not supposed to do. I got TikTok back after literally ghosting it for, again, about 6 months, maybe more, I forget. I was so excited. I was like, I'm gonna grow. I'm gonna do this. TikTok sells books. We've seen it proven. Even publishers are literally paying people to sell books on TikTok because it's so effective. There's TikTok stands at bookstores from books that TikTok is selling. It is amazing what it can do. I have not seen anything like this since I started. The closest thing I can think of is maybe BookBub, but not even. It doesn't even come close. Like TikTok is blowing other things out of the water in a really cool way. So again, coming back to my story, I decided on like a Sunday, I was like, I'm gonna do TikTok. I'm gonna come back full force. Let's do this thing. I made like a video for every day of the week. I posted faithfully, and then I did exactly what you're not supposed to do. And I fell off the wagon and I completely stopped posting. In fact, I was so overwhelmed by the idea of TikTok that I actually deleted the app. I was like, nah, I'm not doing it. I can't handle this. Take it away from me. Comment below if you can relate, because it's intense. It's a lot of work, especially in the beginning when you first start out and you're trying to figure out how to edit on this platform. And I was making mistakes and it was like, oh my gosh, this 15-second video took me an hour. No, this is not worth it. So I dropped it. I want to say a month, maybe 2 months, maybe even 3 months later. I forget how long it was. I came back and did the exact same thing. Okay. I got on TikTok. I went strong for about a week, maybe 2 weeks. And then I deleted the app again. I was like, what am I doing? I can't do this. I'm a new mom. I have like this much time to get work done. I can't give it to TikTok. I can't do it. So I had FOMO, fear of missing out, but I had to let it go. This is so funny because it was just last month. So this is March 2023. Let's look at my actual TikTok page. I think in like December, January, I tried to come back, but I was kind of sporadic. Like TikTok, they say post every day if you want to grow. You don't have to. Just putting that out there. You don't have to do anything. You can just have the platform and post sporadically, not a big deal. But for growth, for more people to find you and for the TikTok algorithm to really push your content out, it seems to be at least once a day, which is a lot. I'm just gonna be straightforward with you because I think a lot of people hear that and they're like, oh my gosh, am I the only one who feels like that's a lot? No, you're not the only one. But then I think I got more and more serious. I was like, okay, I gotta do this. I gotta show up. So I was like, okay, Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, I'm gonna give it my best shot. And I have not been perfect at it. Probably get like 3 times a week on average right now. But coming back to the point of this video, which is that I did create kind of a content strategy, and I feel like nobody else is sharing, at least for book talk, aka the book community, the reader community on TikTok. Nobody is really sharing specific strategies for that. Now, I think you can find a lot of cool advice on just general TikTok, and so definitely do your research. I don't feel like I'm the right person to necessarily teach you how to edit a video because I feel like I'm much better at editing like YouTube videos like this. I understand long form better. And sometimes I even just use the Instagram app, I'm not even gonna lie, to put videos on TikTok. I just kind of do whichever one's calling to me that day. I've even edited a few videos on YouTube Shorts, which I hope that they kind of level up to the other two platforms because they do not have nearly as many options. But honestly, I'm most comfortable with Instagram, and I will say that there's nothing wrong with taking a video from Instagram and then putting it over on TikTok or vice versa, and even putting those videos on YouTube if they apply to an audience that you have on YouTube. Nothing wrong with cross-posting. That's what it's called when you post the same video in multiple places. You did the work, do the cross-posting, in my opinion. Now, okay, I have a whole list here of different types of content as well as a bunch of notes that I've picked up just for like best practices, I guess you could say. So let's get comfy and let's talk about how to create content that will help you grow and help sell your books. And especially that last one, because I don't think enough people focus on, does this content actually move my book and make people want to read it? Or am I just worried about growth? Because honestly, growth is not as important in the grand scheme of things. And I know I'm approaching this from the author side, so I guess if you do just want to grow, like if you just want to have a reader TikTok, that's fine. Or a reader Bookstagram, that's fine. I think these things will still apply because I think growth will happen naturally if people are interested in your content. I just think that for me, my underlying focus, at least I tried to make it my focus, is actually book sales, less about like numbers on the platform, if that makes sense. Let's talk about this, because the first type of content is just your typical video content, like it's a face or maybe somebody holding a book. Maybe they have an aesthetic, like they take different pictures from Pinterest, and then you put text over that content. And I probably should have put this in my notes here, but like with music, typically. You could have talking, could use a trending audio, some kind of audio for sure. Don't make it have no audio. Visual with text over it, audio, right? That's just your standard. But then I kind of was like, well, what text should it be? What should the content be about? So I kind of put this bullet list here of the options. Could be like a blurb for your book, which is basically a description. You could put it in pieces and get the whole blurb in there, or you could use just the most kind of attention grabbing part of your blurb, like the tagline maybe, or a hook, which is kind of the next point. Like a hook could be something in the blurb, or it could be something that grabs the reader's attention in general about the book. Teaser, favorite line, quote. Another option is reviews from other readers, and you could also like actually screenshot the review and put that text as like a picture over other pictures or other visuals, like if it's your face, but then you put a picture of the review, why they should read, tropes that are in the story. So all of these things about the book I have seen on TikTok and Reels and have made me intrigued about a book. So I think those five, I guess, yeah, 5 things are some of the things you should focus on when you're trying to come up with, what do I want to talk about? What should the actual content be? It's still hard to figure out if you want it to be like your face and the text is over it, or if you want it to be like you flipping the pages of a book. Like that's cool. A lot of people do that and it's easy. Honestly, I find it a little bit boring. So I'm like, well, whatever I find interesting is probably what I should do, right? And same goes for you. Whatever you are most drawn to, I would recommend trying that. So if you're like, I really enjoy seeing people's faces and their lip syncing, and then they put text over their face, then do that if that's something that you are attracted to. But if you're like, you know what, I really enjoy seeing the book cover or seeing just pretty aesthetics of what's in the story, then do that. It's whatever you're drawn to, but also I'm thinking a rotation is also nice. So if you're like, wow, this text really did well, say it was a tagline about your book, like with The Stolen Kingdom, my tagline is, how can she save her kingdom if she can't even save herself? So if I put that tagline over my face one day and I'm like lip syncing or something, then I'm like, okay, that did really well. Now let's put it over the book cover and do it again. Probably not in a row, but like maybe once a week you come back to something that's working, but you do a different visual, different audio, and try the same text. Because that's one thing I noticed about TikTok, and that's not in my notes here, but I noticed that people double down on what's working because you often won't even be shown to the same people. Like if it works with one audience and then you make almost not the same video, but like similar content, it'll reach a brand new audience. So it's not a bad thing to kind of double down on what's working, as long as you can create it in a new, interesting way that the people who have seen it before won't mind. The second kind is what I call interactive videos. The first one is actually my favorite, which is answering a comment. Maybe I should do a little screen recording and show you. Okay, let's see here. This was a super funny video. I can't play the sound for you, but go check it out if you're interested. So let's go ahead and click, I don't know, how about instant follow, because that's very sweet. I'll click the reply button. Now in the middle you can see where you could just start typing your reply, right? But if you actually click this little red circle with a camera icon, now I can reply on the video, ha ha ha, I agree, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I don't know, I wouldn't probably answer this one, but you get the idea. And you can see that like up here at the top is the comment itself, which once you finish recording, you can like move that around on the screen. And I believe that's an option on Instagram and YouTube as well. I've seen it over there. I don't know if it's just pulling from TikTok, but I have a feeling that they're copying TikToks because it's a cool way to engage with your audience. And I think engagement is actually a big thing on social media in general that people don't really think to do, but it helps you grow. If you're having a conversation with somebody, they're more likely to want to follow you, and the algorithm's going to see that engagement and show you to more people. The second type of kind of interactive content is something called a duet. And again, this is TikTok specific because that's what I was intending when I made this video, but see if Instagram and YouTube have it, and they probably will end up having it in the future because they're copying a lot of things that TikTok has. Same thing with Stitch. So the difference between a duet and stitching something, a duet, you're side by side and you're like reacting at the same time as the other video is playing. So usually the sound's not on. It could be, but for Bookstagram and Book Talk, it's usually not. Versus a stitch is just their video, the first 5 seconds, and then you respond to it, just you, after that. The next kind of umbrella of content would be something called recommendations, or I tried to actually expand this to lists because recommendations is obvious, right? Like I recommend these 5 books if you like fantasy, or if you want this kind of romance, here are 3 options for you, or something like that. But like lists are more expansive. Like here's a list of the books that I read in March. Here's a list of things that I need when I go to write my story. Like lists in general, like numbered things, tend to perform pretty well in short form content, no matter what they're about. I think people just really love lists, honestly. The next umbrella is like an acting side of things. And so I actually have 3 under this. So there's cosplay, which probably you're never gonna catch me doing because I don't know how, but it's a cool idea if you like that. Then there's something that I've heard called character confession. I've also heard it called the first person POV. Essentially, it is kind of tricking the viewer most of the time, where you're like pretending to be the character and you're saying what they have happened to them as if it's you, and the reader's like, wait, you did what? What happened? And it's like usually pretty intense stuff, right? Because it's like an intense moment in your story, and then you're like, blah, 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 it's in this book. And you kind of like have the book on the screen. And then I've also seen people do this like kind of laptop style where you're typing it out, again, in first person. So it feels more active and immediate, but in that case, the reader would know that it's not you, usually, unless it looked like a diary entry or something like that. But honestly, these are super fun. I really enjoy watching them. I just don't know how to apply them to fantasy. I've seen a lot of people do them for like contemporary romances, like I ran into this guy and he stood me up and blah, blah, blah. And it's like this story and you're like, what happened? And then they're like, read more in this book. And so it always grabs my attention, but I haven't yet figured out how to apply it to fantasy besides the laptop version. Last but not least, under the acting side is acting out a conversation. And so this is like, if you've ever seen people, you just kind of like record from one angle looking this way, you stop the video, you turn over here, you record from this angle as if you're responding, and therefore it's a conversation and you just go back and forth on whatever you want to talk about, but you're like talking to yourself. I've seen people do this as well, and it's really fun. I don't know if I've thought of a way to apply it to a book yet, but I'm not ruling it out. There is also the author side, and I don't know if I'd recommend doing this very much. We'll talk about this in a second, but I did want to bring it up because there's actually 4 different types of like author related content that you could consider doing as well. Actually, I'm going to start with behind the scenes because I think that's the most interesting to readers. Then there's like advice or tips or education. Now, I was doing this a lot and I'm starting to think that it's a mistake, honestly. And it's not a big deal. I'm not like, oh my gosh, this is horrible, but I think it stunts growth because especially on TikTok, but also probably on Reels and YouTube Shorts as well, it tells the algorithm to look for a different audience than your reader audience that you're trying to reach. So if you're like talking to readers and then you're like, blah, 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 writing, and then the algorithm's like, oh, okay, all right, let's shift you to the authors and let's talk to them, and you stop reaching the readers, which is kind of the whole point if you're on these apps to sell books. Authors do read books, so there's something to be argued for that. But honestly, I just think the more you can focus on the reader side, the better if you're looking to sell books. That said, here's where I would make an exception. On YouTube, for example, when I make my YouTube shorts, that's still short video form content, but I would make more educational style because that's who my audience is over there. So if you're like, you know what, I don't mind having an author focused TikTok, I think I'd like to grow that, great, more power to you, then I would do educational content. Otherwise, I probably would avoid this for the most part. And then that leads to the why I wrote a story. I guess I kind of talked about that. So behind the scenes is like a broader, tons of things could encompass that, but then why I wrote the story is a specific behind the scenes detail that I think readers might enjoy. And then last but not least, you could do rants or kind of story time videos. I think these can be fun, but this was the one thing where I was like, I would be very, very careful what I choose to rant about. Ultimately, you want to draw in readers, not turn them away. And so rants can turn people off. And as an author, you're trying to draw them in, not turn them off. And so whatever you choose to rant about, if it's funny, probably fine. If it's a little bit more aggressive or could potentially offend readers, then I would question if you really need to do it or if it's something you could just tell your author friends instead. Personally, for me, I feel like I've had a lot of opportunity to do negative content and I just don't want to. I don't want to be known for that. I honestly think my YouTube channel could be way bigger than it is if I talked about like bad relationships I've had with editors. I did that once and I was like, you know what? This is not what I want to be known for. And I took that video down. I think I could do videos about why I've like essentially fired people. And I thought about doing that for fun without sharing details. Let me know if that would be entertaining to you. But I would never go the negative route and start name calling and trying to shame people and joining in on the cancel culture, because while those things are very trendy, they blow up, I just don't want to be known for that. And so I would question if you want to be known for that either. Personally, I just don't think that's a wise decision for an author. And I'll leave it at that. Okay, this video is getting long, but I still have a few other notes, so I'm just gonna run through them. They're super random. We did talk about how posting once a day seems kind of average, and people even said that 2 or 3 times a day could help you grow more. Now, that said, if you guys are anything like me, that just sounds so intense. So there's nothing wrong with once a day or even 3 times a week or 5 times a week, whatever you can do, I think is fine. But I'm also gonna throw this out there, and this is not in my notes, but something that I've just been thinking about lately as I've been doing more videos very last minute. Instead of batching content, which is what I tried to do at first, and that kind of burned me out, now I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna give myself 15 minutes. What can I come up with? And then doing a video like that. Sometimes those really fast videos are the ones that do the best. So try not to put as much pressure on yourself and just kind of see what you can learn from each video. Something I heard about YouTube that I think applies to short form content just as well. Don't hold yourself back. Don't let perfectionism hold you back. Just throw out content, do the best you can in the moment. And then every time you do that, look at that video and think, what's one thing I could do better next time? Something else I want to mention as I'm looking at this is something that I've been trying to do lately, and I need to keep reminding myself to do it, is to, again, think about the reader side of things and talk about books with them like you would talk about books with your friends, because this develops that relationship and it feels a lot more natural than when you bring up your own book. If you just love talking about books in general, it's going to feel more natural. So again, this comes with a bit of a caution because I would never recommend trashing another author's book. And if you can't find good things to say, probably better not to say anything at all. But if you want to avoid the review side of things and just share, this is what I'm reading, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to start this book, those kind of things can be really fun for other readers to see and might draw in readers that you don't expect. Okay, this next one I call interaction or engagement. You can hear people call it all kinds of things, but essentially actually having the social part of social media and interacting with other people by liking and commenting and actually engaging with other people's posts is going to help your posts grow as well. And along those same lines, when you're creating your own content, think, what would make people interact with me? What would make them like this? What would make them laugh and think it's funny enough to like it? Or even better, to comment on it and respond to something. Can I ask them a question? Things like that are really, really smart to ask yourself. This third point I thought was really good because I keep forgetting to do it, and it's so funny. Always give information on your book and where to find it. Now, the cool thing about TikTok specifically is that people will go looking, and it's kind of cool how they're like, I'm gonna find it. But I actually feel like once or twice I have been intrigued by a book. Honestly, TikTokers are very good at getting you interested. And then I'm like, I don't know what book it is. Like if they don't show the front cover and they just share this like little teaser and then like pages flipping or something like that, or their face talking, and I'm like, okay, but what's the book though? I don't know what this, I wanna know more. So I would definitely encourage you. You don't necessarily have to put the cover on everything. You could also put it in the description of the video. And even if you forget to put it in the description, because I've accidentally posted videos without a description at all, again, I am here to tell you all my mistakes so you can learn from them. Then you can put it in the comments, because it's worth it to tell people where they can find the book if they are really interested. You don't want to lose that sale. My next note is one that I touched on already, but I'm going to say it again. Focus on the reader side of things. This is something that I'm actually really excited to bring over to Instagram, and I've already been working on bringing it over to Instagram because I was so writer content over there, and that's nothing wrong with that, but I feel like I didn't let myself talk about my books on Instagram. And then TikTok comes along and it's just so freeing, right? Because everybody's like, you're supposed to talk about your books on there and you can talk about them as many times as you want. And there's like this freedom on TikTok where people don't mind if you post multiple times about your book. They love when you get creative. They love when you share excerpts. And I feel like I am starting to remove this stigma of doing that on Instagram. My readers on Instagram love it because it's interesting content and I'm getting more and more creative. I'm having more fun making these videos, and I think that's coming through, and those Instagram posts are actually doing really well. Maybe this is just my little bubble. It probably is. But there's a lot of writers who are like, well, I gotta talk about writing content because I'm a writer. Honestly, you don't have to. And it might be shooting yourself in the foot a little bit. I feel like it's created two separate audiences for me, and I would rather just talk to the readers and let the writing stuff be here on YouTube. Okay, we kind of talked about the next two already, which is brainstorming, like what would make people engage. I kind of put that a bullet point on its own so I could really remember to focus on it. Replying to comments specifically with video if it fits. My next note I have for myself was to make an album in my phone. I think most phones can do that now with my book covers and my aesthetics so that I can just easily find them. Because I'm always like, okay, where was the book? And I take a lot of pictures of my son. Other mamas like this video if you can relate, and you're like, yep, I do that too. So I'm like, where did my book cover go? I can't find it. I can't remember where it is. So just create an album and then you can just go, got it. Oh, and I say that because TikTok and I think the other two apps, maybe not YouTube yet, but Instagram for sure, have an option where you can put like a sticker in, aka a picture from your phone, and you can put in your book cover on the screen as you're talking about it. So it could just be boom, right here. I'm talking about my book on TikTok and there it is right next to me. This one, okay, this one's important to me specifically, is to consider using closed captions, because people who can't do sound, aka people who have a baby right next to them, they're like, their sound is off, they wanna watch TikTok, they wanna scroll and know what's going on. You're going to help those people so much, because a large number of people, when they're watching short form video content, sometimes don't have the sound on. And so if you put closed captions on your video, which is super easy to do, maybe I'll do a little screen tutorial for you here quick. It's so incredibly easy to do. And as soon as you put those captions on your video, people are gonna stick around because, okay, now I know what's going on and I'm interested. Okay, this next one is, I mean, I was writing these notes to myself, so it's a long one, but most of it applies. Okay, don't forget hashtags, but I put maybe 2 or 3 only, question mark. I've heard book talk, like the hashtag book talk specifically. I've heard book talk can get confused, aka if you putting like author talk, but then you put book talk, it's like those are two different communities. Who are you trying to talk to? And it can get a little bit confused and maybe actually not show your book to as many people as you'd like. So trying to get really specific and keep things focused on a specific audience and a specific topic can be very valuable. I've heard mixed advice about how, like, whether a hashtag should be really, really specific and super, super unique, because maybe you'll get found more easy that way, versus like book talk, typically you can't get found because there's just a million people using that. But then I've also heard advice that if you use the hashtag book talk, even though it's super basic, it will train the algorithm to know who you're talking to. So I think I'm kind of leaning to a little bit of both can be good, and you can kind of experiment and see what works for you. Maybe you could start out with bigger hashtags and then get more unique and specific as time goes on. So I actually had a few specific niche examples for me, like YA fantasy retelling or no spice YA fantasy, for example. Last but not least, don't duplicate words or info that are in the video in your caption. This one is really interesting for me because I didn't think about it, but I heard somebody say it. I can't remember who said this. They were like, that is a waste of space. There's very limited real estate, especially on TikTok, because I think there's only so many characters you can do. And I think YouTube as well. YouTube Shorts, you can only like do the title usually, and then I think you can add a description. Anyway, the point is that in your video, it's really, really good to actually put text that if they were just seeing the video by itself, it would do well and it doesn't need the text, because video content, sometimes people don't read past what's in the video, right? But use the extra real estate, the description box, to add to the video and go above and beyond. Don't repeat the content, but kind of add to it and expand on it if you can. Let me see if I can find a good example on my own. Oh my gosh, I spelled this wrong. So I had one that's when a book becomes a draft, becomes a published novel, becomes a full 4-book YA fantasy series. So below this, I put the blurb for book 1, and it was like a feisty runaway princess, a thief, his crew, a heist, a lamp, and I don't know because I can't see it, and a magical Ginny race everyone fears, an addictive Aladdin retelling, hashtag Aladdin retelling, hashtag book talk. So I will end with, I recommend doing what I have here, which is just like a random list of ideas that you've gathered based on like, okay, let's use some positive reviews. I could ask for fantasy recommendations. I really want to do something where I like pretend to toss a book to somebody and then they catch it, but I don't know how to do that. It's just like an idea, I want to try this. My own YA fantasy recommendations or favorite quotes that people like from the Stolen Kingdom, go through my trending sounds that I've saved. And so let's end with that, because you can actually look at what's trending. If you're watching TikTok, you can save sounds, just watch videos about how to do that. And I think it's really helpful to trigger ideas if you save a bunch of stuff that you're like, oh, I'll come back to this later. Maybe I really like this song, or this fits the mood of my book. And don't be afraid to search songs like from your playlist if you have one for your book, and just add those because they already fit your book and you know that they're good. This video's gone on super long. I didn't intend for it to go this long, but I hope it's been helpful for you. I've actually been experimenting like what sells books best. Is it TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, all the above? And I've just been kind of experimenting on all 3 platforms, trying different things and comparing them. So if you want a video about that, let me know. But anyway, I hope this was helpful for you, and I will talk to you guys again very soon. Oh, and please subscribe if you want. That'd be awesome. Okay, love you guys. Bye-bye.